live stream. So.
That is so nerve-wracking. I can't mess up on live. And then where does it live after it's live? So are you live at every
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Debbie Rowe. I'm the Director of Education and Programs here at Temple Bethel, and I want to welcome everybody whose names I don't yet know, which is 95% of you, to Temple Bethel, into this installment of our program. We still have people coming in. That's cool. So our program, starting the conversation, ending the stigma, this is our fourth, if my fingers are correct. This is our fourth installment since last school year, and we are delighted that you're here so that we can learn about being a teenager or a parent in the age of social media. We're calling tonight's program Teens and Screens. Parents, grandparents, you are welcome to listen. It's perfectly fine. I also want to introduce to you Jenny O'Hagan, who is our speaker. She has been involved in all kinds of media work, and she believes something that I do too, so I'm going to take it right off the paper and share, that she believes that education is the key to changing our world for the better. And I'm going to bet that there's nobody here that doesn't agree with that. I'm assuming we all agree with that, yeah? Yeah, okay, good. So I will not read the list of all of her media and technological wonderfulness. I'll let you guys find that out perhaps while we have cookies after. But I do want to frame tonight's presentation a little bit within our Jewish world. We are taught about various kinds of mitzvot. We call them sacred obligations, right? Nothing new to most of you in this room. All religions talk about sacred obligations. In Judaism, we talk about two large clusters of them. One, in Hebrew, we say ben adam lamakom. In English, that means between people and God. That's one kind. And the other kind is between adam lechavero, between one person and another. These are the two kinds of, or two categories of sacred obligations that we know of in our tradition. And for those of you who are familiar with the Jewish tradition, I bet you can come up with a couple, or 3, or 12, or 17 for each one of those two categories. I'm particularly struck tonight by the category ben adam lechavero, between one person and another. Truth, true confessions. I like my screen device. It's sitting in my pocket right now, so I'm not fiddling with it. I like my screen device for all the kinds of things I can do with it, even when I babysit my 2.5-year-old grandnephews, and we pull up some app that does animal sounds. And they can identify the animal by its picture, and then they try to make the sound, and then we listen to it. It's the goofiest thing on the planet, but they love it. And one of them always likes to poke at it like this. He doesn't use his finger, he just pokes like this. He wants to poke stuff. And he is the king selfie taker of the 2.5-year-old set in my family. Screens can be important. We learn things. But relationships between one human being and another, if we don't lift our faces from the screen and look into the faces and eyes of the people in front of us, or sitting next to us at the ball game, or around the Thanksgiving table, or whatever it is, we will be missing a lot. And I know that I do it too much. I'm assuming that a lot of us in the room forget to lift our faces from the screens. So I am really delighted and excited to learn from Jenny O'Hagan, how do we make that balance? How does that work? How do we enjoy the connectivity that the screens can bring us, and at the same time, look up into the faces of those who are next to us? So let's learn from Jenny O'Hagan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'm really looking forward to being with you guys tonight. I just drove here from Hollywood. I'm working right now at KTLA. I'm the executive producer of the Rose Parade. So I've been really thinking a lot about chrysanthemums and marching bands. So I'm really grateful to be with you and to be talking about screens and phones. And first things first, I am going to be talking to a lot of no people right here unless you guys are willing to come forward a little bit. So if you don't mind, I want to be able to talk to actual people. I mean, I guess I can just talk to these guys. Yeah, you're very nice too. Okay, so if you're willing to move forward a little bit, that would be great. That will help me a lot. I'll introduce myself a tiny bit. I am Jenny O'Hagan, as she said, and I have 3 girls. One is 17, one is 2 stepdaughters, 27 and 30, and I have 2 out of college and 1 in the application process. How many of you guys are doing that application process right now? Oh, God bless you. We're doing the same thing right now. So a lot of that is about being online, right? And learning things and doing things. I mean, let me just tell you the difference between college applications now online and when our older daughter was doing it and when I was doing it, when I had to like roll it into the typewriter and like, oh man, start over, is so great, right? I mean, it makes a big difference. So technology is really good. And that's one of the things that I bring to the table a little bit is that we don't have to come in here and be like, we're so freaked out, we should put our phones in the toilet and just like flush them down, right? Because sometimes we feel like we want to do that. So we kind of want to remember all the way across that technology is good, but we've had a lot of situations and issues come up, and now we just need to learn how to work with them. A lot of this stuff that's happened on the internet is 1 decade old, it's 10 years old. I mean, you're older than that, right? So we're learning how to do a lot of that stuff. So over time, I've worked at KTLA on and off since 1992, when I was obviously a teenager. And I worked for the Disney company, and I work for the Disney Channel with Disney Channel kids when they start their journey when they get cast into shows like who watched Shake It Up. That was my first Disney Channel show. So Zendaya and Bella Thorne were my first girls that we went through this media training and talked about how do you have a social media image online when you're about to be famous. And all of that really is stuff for you guys too, because how do you have an image online? So that's how this all started for me, and then I started thinking like, it sounds to me like a lot of people need to know about technology and how to use it for good. And so I started learning more and speaking to lots of different people, and you guys are next on the list. So hopefully it'll be a really fun night. And I'm going to start with a little introductory video, and then we'll walk through a bunch of stuff, and then you're welcome to ask some questions, and I'm happy to bring that forward.
Has been provided with generous support from the Verizon Foundation. If you're anything like my parents, you're probably wondering why kids spend so much time on their digital devices. Because we're kids, we love to socialize, so we keep in touch with our friends.
See how technologically advanced I am? I just unplugged it. It'll be worth it. Click. There we go.
The following has been provided with generous support from the Verizon Foundation. If you're anything like my parents, you're probably wondering why kids spend so much time on their digital devices. Because we're kids, we love to socialize, so we keep in touch with our friends and family by texting. We text about things we're doing and things we like. We tell our parents where we are and when to pick us up. And in case you hadn't noticed, we do this nonstop. In fact, in the time it takes you to send an email, we can have a whole conversation with lots of friends. It's the same to us as hanging out. And you might have noticed, we're actually writing a lot. We also like to take funny pictures and share them with our family and friends. Sometimes we make movies and upload them to sites like YouTube and Facebook. We also spend lots of time listening to music. We love to do stuff together, build, create, search, but most of all, share. And we think we're pretty good at doing all these things at the same time. I know you worry that we're just wasting our time, but from what I hear, things weren't so different when you were young. It's just that the places where we connect with our friends and family are different from yours. Instead of getting together with just 1 or 2 friends after school, our mobile tools make it easy for us to keep in touch with all our friends 24/7 if you'd let us. But look on the bright side, everything we do leaves a digital footprint. That means it's easy to see who we're hanging out with. Mostly we're hanging out with friends we already know from school, sports, or other activities. And believe it or not, sometimes our technology helps us with our homework. We ask our friends about assignments, and we check in with our teachers about things we missed or need help on. Also, we find sitting around watching TV kind of boring, because with our digital tools, we can do and learn so much more. Instead of just talking, we can upload images, photos, and comments. We can make and remix music, learn and practice new skills like stop-motion filmmaking, and write about our passions and hobbies. This brings us together with people who share our same interests. And when we share the things we create, we feel great about it. And feedback from our friends and family helps us get better and develop new skills. Skills we'll need in college or when we apply for a job. Oh yeah, and instead of the games you played, we play games like these, where we have to work together with lots of other players. Some of our games let us do things we can't do in real life, like take big risks, make mistakes, and get up and try again. You should play with us sometime. You might learn a lot too. Just like in real life, kids can be mean online, but we are learning how to report bad behavior. Of course we make mistakes. This is when we need your help the most, and sometimes we're afraid to ask, because we don't want you to take away our connection to our friends. This is our biggest fear. Removing us from a world we need to learn to live in probably isn't the best way to prepare us for the future. So instead, why not just ask us what we're doing? We could actually use your help. And please, don't take this the wrong way, but we think you could use our help too. So why don't we learn together? Because with our help, we know you can do it.
Right? 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 So one of the first things that we know about parents and kids and teenagers and the internet and their devices is that there's some closing off that happens right away, because we as teens think if our parents know what we're doing, or even if we have a conversation about it, they're definitely going to get mad, and they're definitely not going to understand, and they're definitely going to want to throw my phone out the window. And then we close up and we don't tell stuff. So as a parent, or as a grandparent, or as a caregiver, it's really an important thing to be reminded that these are also tools of good and not only of evil, right? And so that is where that sort of perspective comes from, is that we don't have to walk into it as like this is a terrible thing. And then we also have to be careful. So let's just get these things out of the way, which are the careful stuff. Everybody knows this. We have to say it over and over again. Do not put your personal information online. Now, you should know that your personal information is probably online already, right? I will show you in a minute what that looks like, but most people's information is online. It's not that hard to find. That's part of the thing we need to know all the time. But it's also a good idea to never put your address and phone number online ever, pretty much for any reason, unless you're buying something and that would be your parents' idea. We also put some space between our activities and what we're doing. And what that looks like, and this is a hard one, is when you're going out to a concert. Did anyone go to Guns N' Roses this last weekend? That seemed to be a popular one. Yeah, really? See? Big popular one. So this happens sometimes, and we all do this, where we are all going to the Grand Canyon for the weekend because our parents are taking us. It's really fun. We take 22 selfies of us like, is this good? And then we miss the hole, right? And then when we put it online right away, and then you can. Okay. Somebody says, oh, look, the Johnson family is out of town. I think I'll go rob their house. This happens, right? And you say, oh, come on, that really doesn't happen. Why would that happen? Well, I'll tell you why. Some funny trickster put out a great website that said the following, comerobme.com. And he went online and just surfed for and put hashtag I'm on sending photos or texts to someone you wouldn't be fine to send to your grandma. Grandma is the perfect thought for any text or picture, right? Because grandma, grandpa, caregiver has sort of the highest standard of ideals, right? So if you're going to send a text, you might want to think about whether your grandma would want to see it. And this is something that has been coming up a lot. How many people have Snapchat? So fun, right? How many people have Snapchat streaks? Okay, we're going to talk about that too. When you Snapchat, sometimes you think to yourself, it goes away. It doesn't matter what I put on it because it goes away. Right? Because it does, right? Go away? What can you do with a Snapchat? Yes? You can screenshot it, and when you screenshot it, the other person sees that you did it, right? Yeah. So what's another thing that you can do? You can hide your screenshot, or you can load it, turn off your Wi-Fi screenshot, and log out. I mean, people do it. People do it. Right? But in your mind, you're kind of thinking it's just going away, right? So I'm putting it in the back of your mind right now. It's being screenshot. It's being screenshot right now. And I know this is a really weird thing to have to say to any human people, but I'm telling you, some people forget this too. What's the one thing you should completely always think about when you're taking your pictures online? Just one thing, people. Be clothed. Right? I mean, you're laughing and you're talking, but how many of you in this room have heard of, obviously, other people who have gotten into some trouble because they've sent a picture without some clothing on and have gotten in trouble? Yes. Yes. It happens. And can I just tell you one little tiny thing? If you are under 18 years old, sending a photograph that is unclothed, and that would mean, by the way, boys, I don't know, totally unfair, but can not wear a shirt and not get in trouble. I don't know why that is. But the things that you know, which are unclothed, those pictures are illegal if you're not 18 years old. So they're not only sort of questionable, but they're also illegal. And they're more than once. I've been to schools where policemen have showed up at the school to escort you outside to give you a little pep talk about that picture that you, A, thought nobody was going to see, because it was only on for 3 seconds, and that you kind of thought was no big deal. So, if you do only one thing, leaving this room, I just beg you, take pictures of yourself clothed. Right? That's not so hard, is it? Is it? Yeah. And when you have, how many of you guys have had situations where you had someone send you something that was questionable, that you knew in your heart and your head was like, right? Screenshot, take a picture. Consider showing your mom, showing your dad, showing your rabbi or your teacher, if it happens at school. You don't have to make a big deal about it. You don't have to make a big deal about it. But here's the thing. Here's what we're finding, at schools especially. Generally, it's no big deal, and you can go to that person and say, you know what, this hurt my feelings, and don't do this again. Sometimes we're seeing that there's a pattern that kids are sending questionable things to a lot of different kids. And then we're getting in situations where something happens that's, even worse, and then kids are like, oh yeah, that totally happened to me too. That totally happened to me too. So it really would be communication, which we're going to talk about next, is really important. And if you think it's important, I would tell someone. Okay? So I'm going to tell you about something that we do at my house that we think is a really good idea. Does anyone here have a safe code word with your mom and dad? Yeah? Good. Excellent. So I'm going to talk to you about code words, and let me tell you that it comes in handy for 3 different reasons. So I don't know if any of you guys have this situation, but I have a 17-year-old. I was telling you about Maddie already. And about the 6th or 7th grade, she would find herself sometimes in situations in 0% of the time, the following will happen, but we tell about it anyway. There are and have been situations where people have been carjacked or kidnapped or in some other really dangerous situation. Sometimes they are given the opportunity to call their parents, maybe so that they won't get nervous. Maybe it happened in a case where someone had to asked to get money out of an ATM and they didn't know their PIN number, so they called home and they got their PIN number. But they were unable to communicate with their parents that there was anything wrong. In the event that you have a code word in your family, you have the opportunity in those kinds of situations to say that something's wrong. And this is a thing that, so it can be used for just getting out of something, or getting out of a dangerous situation, or in the worst cases, getting out of a really big problem. So I would consider having a code word. I've done a few of these talks now, several actually, and I also have run into people who have it in groups. So like in college, with your roommates, you might have a code word, like if you need to get out of a party, or if you need to get out of some other kind of situation, you have a code word. What a great idea, right? Just to know how to do that. So that's really good. And then in this same list, we talk about piggy bank passwords. And you're like, whoa, what's a piggy bank password? And you know what, moms and dads are going to think of this too, because my husband and I realized as I was learning about this and starting to talk about it, that we also don't share all of our passwords. We had a situation last year where a friend of my daughter's passed away unexpectedly. She was for about 2 days, and she passed away. And it turned out that her parents did not know her passwords to her Mac or to her iPhone. And I'm sure you've all heard, because it's been pretty out there, that Apple will, under no circumstances, open your device. Like, you could kill someone, and they would not open your device. Or you could die, and they could not open your device. And it's kind of a bummer, because actually, since then, they have figured out her password by doing all sorts of fun things. But in the moment, they didn't have her passwords. So someone had this amazing idea. You can get one of those little piggy banks at the dollar store. I've seen them everywhere. They don't have a bottom, so you have to actually break them if you want to get into them. Because when you're in probably 6th, 7th, 8th grade, giving your passwords to absolutely everything isn't a problem, shouldn't be a problem. It's your mom and dad's phone. It's all good. As you get a little bit older, there may be some things that you have a password for that your parents wouldn't know, because if you have a little privacy, if you put your passwords all into these piggy banks, you put them up in a place in the house. If there is some situation that your parents need to get into your phones, they can break your piggy bank and get it out. That's a privacy issue, right? You'll know if they've broken it to get into. Same thing applies, though, I realize, with like my husband has a few accounts that aren't, it's not that he doesn't mean for me to know about them, it's just that he's the only one who accesses them. So what if something happened and I couldn't get into the SoCal gas bill? What would happen, right? So we have now sat down and put all of our passwords together for each other so that we really have them. Because that's one of the things you don't really think about. And you add passwords all the time, right? Aren't you just getting new stuff all the time? I mean, if you're doing a college app, you got several passwords, right? You got a Cal State password, you got a Common App password, you got a College Board password. And password, exactly. So we talked about how all of your information is online. This is an internet, this is a website called White Pages. This is my husband. Don't tell him I put in his information. All of his information is online. These are the last 2 places that we lived. If you scroll down, you can see the new places that we lived, which I will not do, because then you'll come in and take out. But very often you can find things online. There's an internet website called Spokio, which has more information about you, similar to things like, I like to play Minecraft. I'm really interested in gardening. These are things that have been mined from the internet, and it's not dangerous in that it's for marketing, right? It's so that people and internet services and Amazon and Facebook specifically can send you ads. So it's not dangerous in itself, but it's important to know that that stuff is out there, right? And that your information
information is everywhere. Sometimes when you are starting, especially games, how many of you guys play games with other people on the internet that you don't know? Right? Super fun. Totally safe and fine, as long as you're being safe and fine, right? Couple of things. One thing is that when you begin those games, oftentimes we'll have people that put cool things like innocent pink poodle as their internet login. I mean, maybe they wouldn't choose that one, but that's one. And then they think to themselves, no big deal. Nobody knows who I am. I'm innocent pink poodle. That's not connected to anything. Wrong. Because when you logged in, what did you log in with?
Email that
then we talked about not sharing your password. Look, see, I'm already ahead there. All right, kids already know this, but what about moms, dads, and grandpas? Who knows how to screenshot? Yeah? Yeah, do you? Okay. All right, so we just already talked. Sorry, you're just right. Thank you, Brad.
I got a new phone, so I have no idea.
Okay, so this is good. All right, well, which kind of fun is it? Google Android. Okay, who knows how to somebody else there goes. All right, so screenshotting is really cool in a lot of ways. I'll tell you why I use it. I find coupons online and I immediately screenshot it so that then I have it later. That's selfish. Store my hobby. But it also helps a lot when you have an issue like we were just talking about, where somebody sends you something that's not appropriate or not a great idea, or if you have an article that you'd like to see. Anyway, if you have an iPhone, you can push the bottom button here and the side button here, and watch this. Immediate picture. And then you have a screenshot of what you just took, right? Yep. So it took a picture of what was in my plan thing. This is something to have at the ready for everybody. Just to understand A, that it's happening all the time, and people are screenshotting stuff all the time. So if you say something you think is cute or funny, or if you do something that's wrong or whatever, it's being screenshot. And also, it's a pretty handy thing, right? How many of you guys have used screenshotting? Yeah? Yeah, see, we're already good. All right, so the next thing we talk about with cyber information and safety is communication, because things are happening so fast, so quickly, changing so much. In fact, even since I was talking with Amy about this presentation, and she was asking me about anonymous apps, which you guys know about Ask FM, right? And Whisper and Yik Yak, etc. And we used to talk about Yik Yak, and it's basically skip ahead so that we can get to this, is, oops, no, I'm gonna come back to that. Is that we have a dinner crate. This one says, "Be present, crate your phone." We started it a while back before I had this fancy crate, and we just called it the parking lot, and we had a place in our kitchen where all of our phones went right before dinner. We only do it before dinner, because, I mean, let's be honest, how often can you have your phone under your hand? I mean, let's, right. But at dinner, there are no exceptions. You can, I mean, no exceptions is pretty strong, but in general, you have to put your phone at the parking lot. And, you know, when my stepdad came over one time, he was like, yeah, well, how am I going to play my Words with Friends under the table if I don't have my phone? Yeah, you can also put your phone, Grandpa, you can also put your phone at the table. And then I got this, and it was the best thing in the world watching my little 6-year-old niece at Thanksgiving last year, going around like, give me your phone. Yeah, she took it really, really seriously, and the entire family put our phones in the crate during the entire Thanksgiving meal. People, it was like we were in 1975 again. And it was incredible. And by the way, it was probably what, like 20 minutes? You know, how long does that actually happen, right? Right. So, okay. So you're gonna talked about that. Now, let's talk about fear of missing out. How many of you guys have FOMO or know about it? Right? FOMO, a little fear of missing out. Now, this is what, and one of the moms emailed me about this last week. There was an article in the New York Times last week or the week before about why are more American teenagers than ever suffering from severe anxiety. Also, I work a lot with commonsense.org. I don't know if you guys know about commonsense.org. It's amazing. Look it up and use it. They have been doing a lot of research as well, and what we're finding is that there are many factors, but our moms and dads, right? I know. And then guess what? Another thing that we find is that sometimes it's a little bit hard for kids because we'll say, this is what I do. Maddie, get off your phone. What? Oh, why are you still on your phone? I'm just checking my work email. It's just work. It's work. But why are you on your phone? Right? And the moms and the kids are like, wait, that's not fair. Why do you get to be on our phone? By the way, our work is not an excuse for constantly being on our phone while staring at our kids and telling them to be off their phone. It is our responsibility to model good behavior. And these things are addictive. We know that because there's research right now that says that the really smart guys who created Facebook read an article, a random article, about how dopamine, that's the thing that makes your mind like happy, the thing that when you hug someone, you have a little dopamine kick and it makes you feel happy. When you push that like button on Facebook or on Instagram, it gives you that kind of like, oh, or if you look and say like 50 likes, yes. Do you know that the Facebook guys, when they started Facebook, had read an article saying that the internet could probably help give the artificial dopamine kick if you have that kind of thing, and they created those likes knowing that it was going to cause addiction. But they didn't probably know it was going to cause addiction, but they knew that it would cause that dopamine kick, which now causes you to go back if you see a picture that's really good to see how many likes there are now and how many likes there are now. And guess what? I do it too. And I'm like, my daughter's like, well, you're on your phone still, right? So we're beginning to have those conversations, and we're talking about it too. Let's talk about some social media don'ts. Now, we already talked about putting your ticket. This is to Taylor Swift, so maybe you just don't go to a Taylor Swift concert. That could be a social media don't, right? Or not putting your ticket out so that everybody knows where you are and when you're there. This is Lindsay Lohan, and this is a true story. She was sent to rehab because she had some drug and alcohol issues, right? And she put up an Instagram photo that said, 90 days and 270 looks. In other words, I have 3 outfits a day for that rehab program that I'm going to. And the judge said, I don't think you're taking that very seriously. We're going to add some jail time. That makes sense, right? Think about what you're posting. If you make a mistake like Lindsay Lohan did, although it's going to be much less than that because you're not going to be in that kind of trouble, but it is possible that you're going to make a mistake online. Because here's the scoop. Every single one of us in this room, in these front rows, are, I think, under 26, right? Except me, obviously. Under 26, your brain is still growing. You're still making, you're still becoming an adult, right? Which means you're gonna make mistakes. You're growing, you're changing. That's the whole point of growing up, is to learn how to be an adult and how to make mistakes and how to do better, right? That's always how it's been. When we were growing up, those mistakes were not plastered online. They were not screenshot. We don't expect that you're not going to make mistakes. What we expect is that if you do make a mistake, you're going to delete it immediately, and then you're going to model good behavior by doing the following. You're going to say you're sorry. And guess what? We find that teens and kids actually are much better at this than grown-ups. Because if you were to go to your friend and say, I was running around and I quickly saw your Instagram comment and I commented back in a rude way or a snarky way, I'm really sorry, shouldn't have done that. Then it's pretty much going to end at that moment, right? But if you say, I'm so sorry you were offended, or even if you say sincerely, I'm so sorry you were offended, not a sorry, right? Not an apology. So if you say you're sorry and you move on, that's pretty good. And if you take it off and then you model a better comment right away, that will also help. I've changed my mind, I'm going to do something different. All right, then we're going to talk about limits, and I know you don't want to hear about limits, but I'm telling you right now that we don't stay up all for 24 hours a day, even though it's fun to be awake. right? We sleep, right? So sometimes our toys get sad because we're always on the computer. I mean, that's a true thing. So you can shut it down. I keep spilling on myself. It's really pretty. You can shut it down. There are apps online. There are internet websites that help you shut down your computer. You go to selfcontrol.com. Google Chrome has distraction blocker. And obviously, you all know that you can put your phones on airplane mode while you're doing your homework. It takes double the amount of time to do your homework if you're going back and forth to Instagram than it does if you just do it. So, when you say, I can't possibly be away from my friends for 2 hours on Instagram while I'm doing my homework, I'm here to tell you, you can be away from your friends for 1 hour, and if you turn your phone off, it'll only take you 1 hour to do your homework instead of 2. And you're not going to be trying to do 2 different things at one time, which really doesn't work, and all of us know that. But you can listen to music and you put your phone on airplane mode, right? Right? That would work. These are those anonymous apps that I was telling you about. These all started off for really good reasons because it was kind of fun. Ask FM was like asking questions of friends, like, what do you like to do? What's your favorite concert? What's your favorite? And they all, without fail, end up becoming anonymously nasty. And some get shut down and some don't. Some people don't say mean things, but some people do. And these anonymous apps, how many of you have heard of them or have seen them? Right? So what's an example of an anonymous app that you've heard of in a way that it's been used?
I know that on Ask FM that there's one called After School.
After school?
TBH.
TBH?
After School,
Yeah.
there's a lot of really bad stuff that on that.
Yeah, and TBH is very popular in the middle school, right? To be honest, is what TBH means, and these are anonymous apps. And mom and dad, this is the time when you're having those communications and those talks. Again, these apps were begun to be fun and to have conversations back and forth. And then what happens is that you forget that you're a human person, and you start sending things that aren't so kind. These are apps that you want to talk to your kids about, be having conversations. They're going to tell you about them, and be watching for what's going on there, right? All right, and then what about this idea, while we're talking about communication and having fun and thinking about ways that you can talk about internet safety and stuff like that, how many of you guys have noticed in the last few years that there are 5 million holidays? There's National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, and National Hot Dog Day, and National Chocolate. Yes, as my teen has gotten older, we have less and less time together. We have less and less time to have conversations. We have less and less reason for conversation, right? Because we want to go along on our days. But we sure do like chocolate chip cookies. And on July 11th, 7/11, we sure did dig that free Slurpee. And we really, 7/11, get it? Free Slurpee? So we have taken it upon ourselves to find national holidays and go celebrate them together. It's like, again, it's like a 20-minute to a half an hour to a 45-minute event. We took this picture on National Hot Dog Day, obviously. And those are times that we are able to have conversations about all of these things that are happening in our days and in our lives in the midst of busyness. And we put our phones down, except, obviously, we took a picture, right? So we also, this is the time when we create realistic limits, and these change depending on how old you are. In middle school, your time limits are probably going to be longer than those which are for high schoolers, right? But here's something that is asked of me almost every time I do one of these talks. How old should a kid be when they have a phone? How old should a kid be when they have full access to smartphones? Now, you guys are all older, right? So how many of you have smartphones now? able to say, oh, I don't know how to do that either. We'll just have to start fresh. We'll have to do it together. This kind of stuff is happening. Do a little bit, do a lot of hugging, because you know these kids, they love hugs. Gross, don't do it. Okay, fine, they won't let you hug. Fine. Then let's embrace media together. Let's go to commonsensemedia.org and read some of these articles about what I've been talking about tonight, about anxiety, about what's good about media. Commonsensemedia.org has an incredible amount of information about if you want to learn more together about empathy. Here are 20 truly